welcome back to this Dialogue Web Extra. I'm Marcia Franklin. I'm here with Kelly McBride. Kelly is an ethicist, a media ethicist for the Poynter Institute in St. Petersburg, Florida. That's the leading journalism training institute, place, and also studies the media. And you know, I wanted to ask you, we couldn't get to this in the main program, but for the last year and a half or so, you have been the ombudsman for ESPN. Which is the person that kind of takes a look at what's going on in an organization and cries foul if there's a foul to be called.
Yep.
First of all, why did you want to do that, venture into the sports arena? Again, another pun, sorry, as opposed to staying just with news.
Well, one of the things about sports is they're about 5 years ahead of the news business. If you look at all of the blogs that are out there on sports, you look at the money that they make in sports. I mean, ESPN is this incredibly profitable company, and they can experiment a lot. They have their fingers in everything. And so I was really interested in what the implications were for news, because one of the things that I've noticed is that where there's money and there's room to experiment, they tend to figure out, like, okay, this is what works, and then news tends to follow behind. So I wanted to see what's coming down the pike. And some of what I saw scared me. I mean, there is a lot of, there are a lot of sites out there that are based on very few resources, a lot of people contributing information that hasn't been verified at all, and the information is sensationalized, and it's very hard to find out the truth of what's going on in sports.
These are sites within ESPN?
No. These are sites that ESPN has to compete against.
Okay. All right.
So, like one of them is the Bleacher Report, which is based out of San Francisco. Most of their contributors are unpaid, like 99% of them, and they publish some of the most sensational rumors that are out there. ESPN has to compete against that, and I wanted to see how a company that takes journalism seriously is doing. And one of the things that they are doing, and I've said this in a column, is they're getting a little blurry around the boundaries about what's acceptable and what isn't. So ESPN has a product called Rumor Central, and they do it's exactly what it sounds like. They try and bring a little value added to it by bringing ESPN analysis to the rumors. And they have this standard that says you have to believe that it's at least possible that this rumor is true. Instead of like...
Kind of a low standard.
Exactly, I mean, instead of like, so you've got to figure out if it's true or not, which would be the journalism standard before you republish something.
So did you find potential analogies between what ESPN is able to do and traditional news media or non-traditional news media? I mean, ESPN has a lot more money. I mean, they're the big dog in the room, so they can do a lot more.
But even with all the resources that ESPN has, they have to draw a line in the sand, and they have to at some point say, we're not going to compete. They don't even try and be first with a lot of the stuff anymore.
Well, they certainly weren't first with the Sandusky situation.
Right.
And I'm wondering, as an ombudsman, how you analyzed that. It was a local paper that got the Pulitzer Prize. A local paper, normally you think, okay, local papers aren't going to write in a real critical way about something that's so important to their community.
Yeah,
but they did, and ESPN had this information for a while and passed on it.
They totally missed the boat on that one, and they did it at a couple of points. So the local paper, the Harrisburg newspaper, had written like 18 months earlier that a grand jury was convening and that Jerry Sandusky was being investigated for child sexual abuse, and started writing stories every couple of weeks saying, this is what we're hearing out of this grand jury, and nobody else was following it. AP picked up and attributed it to the Harrisburg paper. ESPN actually ran one of those columns deep in its site, but didn't devote any resources to it. And then where they really missed the boat, I thought, was Sandusky is indicted by a grand jury. And anybody who's covered courts knows that a grand jury indictment is way more significant than simply having a prosecutor file charges, because you've had citizens looking at this information for a significant amount of time and deciding whether it's likely that a conviction would happen. So that was huge, and it was like 48 to 72 hours before ESPN decided to really focus on the fact that children had been
potentially
molested. He's been convicted.
Now he has, but at that time, right.
Right, but to focus on the gravity of the charges rather than the effect that it was going to have on Penn State recruiting.
So as an ombudsman,
I nailed him for it. I nailed him for it. I said that it was horrific, that the worldwide leader in sports would miss it by that much, by 72 hours. You know, the indictment came down on a Saturday, and it was late Tuesday or Wednesday before they finally were running with all the engines on that one.
And why do you think that they were so slow? Because of the stature of Sandusky, or because they couldn't verify it, or?
So there's this myth that sports have nothing to do with the real world, when in fact sports are an exact mirror of the real world. Everything that happens in the real world, whether it's stuff about race relations or labor relations or public health, it all plays out in our sporting world as well. And I think that ESPN was slow to realize that that's true even in this case. And so I just think that there's this, to use another sports metaphor, in soccer there's this metaphor of when you have the ball, if you're the defender, you want to keep that offender's head down. You want to keep the guy with the ball looking at the ball rather than looking up and looking around at other people. ESPN was focused on the ball rather than getting their head up and looking around at the broader story, and they missed it.
And the network has learned its lesson, I assume.
Yeah, I mean they got it together. They did. And the thing is that once they get it together, then they have they have like, a gazillion channels, and they have a lot of resources.
They have almost I would say a monopoly, wouldn't you, at this point?
No, not at all. They have so much competition.
Really?
They have way more competition than they used to. CBS, Fox, NBC, they all have their own version of sports networks, and the online competition is fierce for them.
Now I know you're a sports aficionado.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that.
So did getting in the nitty-gritty of sports and peeling back some of the aura, was that interesting?
It was. I mean, it was fun. Like, when I first started it, I was like, I'm watching TV and it's my work now. That's cool. Especially watching sports on TV. But after a while, it almost it took the fun out of sports for me, because I had to keep thinking about, like, rather than watching the game and how interested I was, I had to think about what the coverage was.
Well, it's interesting. I heard an NPR interview with a man who's written about doping in sports, and he said he just has to put a completely different hat on when he watches the Olympics, because he knows for a fact of what's going on behind the scenes. And as we can see now, the sport of cycling has been, the lid's been taken off of that as well. So. Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of corruption in a lot of sports, and there's also a lot of there's been a lot of abuse, whether it's the abuse of child athletes. There's a scandal with swim coaches that Brian Ross of ABC News broke open.
We have the head injury issue. I mean, sports is news now.
Absolutely.
Sports is news now. Segueing, I know that you're working on editing a book about what the new landscape is looking like with social media, and some standards that can be used by entities and people interested in reporting in this medium. And working on the sports project has helped inform you as you move forward with that book, yes?
Absolutely. And one of the executives from ESPN is hoping to participate in this, hoping to write one of the chapters, Rob King, who's over all of their digital enterprise. He's going to write about social media because ESPN was one of the first to be out there. I mean, they want all their people out there on social media because athletes are on social media and fans are on social media. So they want their people out there too, and they encourage them, and then they have to reel them in when they get into trouble. And they spend a lot of resources. I mean, ESPN has like more than 1,000 contributors, people who are paid to create content or to go on the air and talk about things. More than 1,000 of them.
How can you fact check that, though, as an entity, and make sure that what's going out is
they have 7,000 employees. They have, but yeah, you can't fact check social media.
I've heard this expression, I think it's Sasha Frere-Jones, where he says that Twitter is like a kind of like a self-cleaning oven. That's what his expression he's used.
I like
where
that.
Somebody throws something out there and it might not be accurate, and shortly, the scrubbing bubbles come along and clean it out. But in the
sometimes,
but in the meantime, you know, people's lives can be drastically changed by what gets out there. And you say 1,000 contributors to ESPN in some way or the other. I mean, how do we know what's true and what to believe? I know as a journalist, I don't retweet something unless I can somehow verify it, not myself, but like go to the source and take a look at it and read the article. I mean, I'm scared to retweet something that might be inaccurate out.
Well, there's a sensibility in all of this, right? I mean, you would retweet something from the New York Times more readily than you would retweet something from, say, Deadspin, which is a blog that covers sports, because the New York Times has a better batting average, another sports metaphor there, on getting it right. So there's a sensibility to it all, and still you won't be 100% correct. I mean, you might retweet something from NPR. NPR put out in the shooting after Gabby Giffords, when Gabby Giffords was shot in Arizona, they put out that she was dead. And they put it out on social media, and it was retweeted by thousands and thousands of people, and it was out there for a long time, more than an hour, before they could pull it back and say, actually, we were wrong. So the old media, our old standards were never perfect. There are new standards and different standards, especially in social media. We can't apply the same standards that we have for the newspaper to Twitter. We can't. It's not the same medium.
It's a grapevine, basically. Game of telephone tag.
I mean, Twitter is the marketplace of ideas. It's where people talk to each other.
What I do worry about a little bit, though, is this echo chamber where people, you know, not a lot of original thought is going on, that people are retweeting each other.
Right.
And it's derivative.
Well, this is where we need citizens to gain a new skill set so that people can figure out what's a good thing to retweet and what isn't. We need journalists to find their role. You know, we don't need journalists just repeating the things that other journalists say. We need and commenting on the things that other bloggers are commenting on. We need journalists who are breaking original ground, turning up original facts. So the volume from journalists may not be as much as from a citizen blogger.
I'll put a plug in for SCOTUS blog, which covers the Supreme Court. When the healthcare decision was coming down, I made the choice to turn that on my computer, turn off the television. I'm glad I made the choice, because what the reporters there did is say, give us a moment, we're going to read the decision, we'll be right back with you. And then they got back within a minute, and their old media reporter, who's Lyle Denniston, right?
Yeah,
He's
right,
probably
right.
around 80. He read it, transmitted it to a young'un,
Yep.
who then got it onto the site, and they were right. And they were the first to be right. And big news organizations, Fox and CNN, right?
Right.
Got it wrong.
Got it wrong. And there was no excuse for them getting it wrong. I mean, it's not like we didn't know that that decision was going to be handed down and that it would be complicated and that you would need somebody who knew how to read a Supreme Court decision to read it and tell you what to say. The competitive itch just got to a lot of people too quickly. But the important thing about SCOTUS blog is, as you know, one credentialed journalist for the Supreme Court, and he's not even credentialed because he works for SCOTUS blog. He's credentialed because he's a freelancer for, I think, Salon or Slate, or maybe MSN. But they don't even have like a whole staff of credentialed Supreme Court reporters. They have people who are really interested in the Supreme Court and have law degrees and are very good at reading Supreme Court decisions, and they only...
He's an old-time reporter himself.
Right, he is, and he's the one with the credentials, but nobody else on the site even can get into the Supreme Court building.
Yeah, right. He's phoning them out.
Right,
Phoning out to them, rather.
Well, and it's interesting to note that, so the other thing that failed that day was the Supreme Court website, which for 30 minutes couldn't put out the decision because so many people were trying to get to it that it crashed their website. It might have been even longer than that. It might have been 3 hours. But if the Supreme Court could have, I mean, many reporters said, hey, would you please email the decision? And the Supreme Court said, no, we're just going to post it to our website. And reporters said, we think your website's going to crash. The Supreme Court said, no, we got this. Don't worry. Well, you know.
And in this on SCOTUS blog, they have a cute little thing that says, survived a hacking attempt, got it right, thank goodness. You know what I mean? It breathes a sigh of relief, and we've seen, you know, with the debate between O'Reilly and Jon Stewart
yeah.
crashed. So this is the back end of all the social media is
the infrastructure.
The infrastructure and how to make it happen. So we'll look for your book
in the spring
of
March.
2013 that will try and develop some new standards for this landscape, blogosphere, whatever we want to call it. Maybe you'll come up with a new word.
Well, the title of the book is going to be called The New Ethics of Journalism: A Guide for the 21st Century. And late March, early April by the latest, it should be on stands.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for staying after the main program to talk about it.
Great.
You've been listening to Kelly McBride. Kelly is a media ethicist for the Poynter Institute in Florida. I'm Marcia Franklin. Thanks for tuning in to this Dialogue Web Extra.